The Tiberi trial, 20 years of legal proceedings. It's simple. Tiberi, 1995, it was discovered that Mr. Tiberi, in order to be elected mayor of Paris, had favored voters registered at buildings that didn't exist. He set up fake buildings, fake addresses. People from the suburbs would register at these places, claiming they lived there, and they would vote for Mr. Tiberi. And it was done on an industrial scale. Well, after 20 years, he was sentenced to 10 months in prison and a 10,000 euro fine. I'm probably getting the details wrong, but basically it was nothing. After 20 years, it's worthless, but I have plenty of cases like that. Take the Balladur case, the kickbacks from the Karachi affair with those 11 people who were blown up in a bus, and so on. Oh, what was Balladur sentenced to? Nothing at all after 20 years. When you can afford a top lawyer and the other side can only get a court-appointed attorney, it's true there's a distortion. And it's true that all these people, the top lawyers paid by these folks who are on a monthly retainer, know all the tricks of the law. They also pay advances. Lawyers at Anticorat, and they don't hire just any lawyers, they hire top lawyers. And those ones, they know all the tricks too, so they don't let themselves get pushed around. I'll give you a very specific example that I can talk about. It's Mr. Hubert Falco, who has just been caught with 50 counts of fraud, still doesn't understand. Because this guy, for 10 years, even though he was no longer president of the Var Departmental Council, was helping himself from the fridge. He ate at the Departmental Council's cafeteria every day, had food delivered on weekends with 2 people from the council, even though he was no longer president of the Departmental Council. He also used the council's dry cleaning service for 10 years. He had his socks and shirts washed, paid for by the Departmental Council. It might not seem like much. He doesn't understand why he was convicted for that. But that's corruption. If I stop working at Renault, can I keep going into the Renault factory to use the car or the cafeteria? That's misuse of public property, right? That's exactly it. He was convicted. It took time, but Anticor didn't give up. We were the ones who handled the case. The man was convicted. He got 5 years of ineligibility. His political career is over. If Anticor hadn't stepped in on this case, who could have put an end to that? Can you believe this guy? But in a totally royal way, he was having things delivered to him, paid for with my taxes, with your money, with my money. On weekends, he had table service at his home by 2 people from the Departmental Council who would come and serve him food and everything. No, but it went on for quite a while because these people are well known, because they have connections, because they all know each other, because they go to the same Rotary Club. Here, I'll give a very specific example about that so we can understand how it works. Everything I'm saying is factual. I always make that clear. In a tax office, in any department, if ever there's a problem with an elected official of moderate importance, not just a small town councillor, but say a deputy mayor of a medium-sized city who has a tax issue during an audit, so there's an inspector who comes to audit your business. If you happen to be an elected official, strangely enough, the case is no longer handled by the regular inspectors. Stop. The elected official's case gets bumped up to the next level, and at that point, no one knows what happens. So why is that? Because you're an elected official in a medium-sized city, etc. You don't get the same tax audit service as an average person. And that's the reality. And the chain of command goes up. And the more important you are as an elected official, the more careful they are not to come down hard on you. I can give you an example of that. Do you know TRACFIN? Well, TRACFIN is great. It's an organization in charge of investigating all suspicious money transfers in bank accounts, etc. And banks are required to report them, to forward to TRACFIN as soon as there is a money transfer, a wire to a foreign country, etc., anything suspicious that comes up. Normally, the bank or whoever must report a suspicious money transfer to TRACFIN within 48 hours. That's the protocol, that's the law. There's a guy named Geont who at one point received 500,000 euros for the purchase of Dutch boats, little Dutch paintings. That's the official story, okay? He received a transfer of 500,000 euros. TRACFIN was notified 5 years after this transfer, 48 hours before Francois, whom I was working with, published the story. Are you following me? So why 5 years for Geont? And why 48 hours for Beijing to put 2,000 euros into its bank account? You see, that's where I say there's a problem. But it was Mr. Geont. So Mr. Gayant, he's getting 500,000 euros fired. That's normal. You get 30,000 euros transferred by your mother-in-law, by your grandmother who gives you money. Strangely, they're going to ask you why, where it comes from, etc. That's also crazy. When you go to your bank and withdraw cash today, what do? What is it for, sir? And they've got the bill in their hand. There is no law that obliges you to answer. But it's to fight against drug trafficking. Oh, really? 1,000 euros? To fight against drug trafficking? Who are you kidding here? That's the official version. On the other hand, guys like Guéant, who transfer 500,000 euros into their account and nobody knows where it comes from, strangely, they don't ask him what it's for. There too, they need to stop taking us for fools. It's the politicians who make the laws. So politicians, unfortunately, make laws among themselves, for themselves. I was a politician for 25 years. I know what it's like. So it's a closed circle. They hang out together, they live together, they sleep together, they go to the same restaurants. They no longer know what it's like. There's a complete disconnect. I was deputy to Mr. Manuel Valls. I'm the only person who fought with him twice. So now when I see him, I call him Dark Bador. Valls has never worked a day in his life. All these people started their careers in politics as assistants, as deputies, and so on, but they've never actually worked. The higher you rise in politics, the more people you have around you. Ever since Dupont-Mirati was on trial, we know that now you can be acquitted if you were just negligent. That's still pretty serious. The guy forgot to declare 300,000 euros in income. He forgot. It's no big deal. The Special Court of Justice is a total joke. It's just an insider thing. It's elected officials judging other elected officials. So since they've been eating at restaurants together for 20 years, when it's time to judge, it's basically the Minister's Court, if you prefer. The High Court of Justice. All the elected officials, including Macron, promised to abolish it, and none of them ever did. They judge each other. It's super convenient. And that's where the phrase responsible but not guilty comes from. Before 2017, I personally kept track of government members who had run-ins with the law and the tax authorities. The members of Hollande's government who had run-ins with the law and the tax authorities. It was 30%. Since 2017, under Macron, I'm up to 60%. That is to say 60%, and what I'm saying is factual, of the successive members of Mr. Macron's governments have had run-ins with the tax authorities or the justice system. And the worst part is that already in 2018, so Mr. Macron had been in government for a year, and already 60% of the members of that government had had run-ins with the tax authorities. I have all the proof of what I'm saying. What really bothers me is that this guy sold us a new world, and in the end, his new world is worse than the one before. How do you expect these people to then ask us to be clean, especially since they demand that we be clean ourselves? I often say it. These people demand that we wear clean shirts while they all have dirty underwear.